one is most extraordinary magical experience. Now, we've plenty of pillars of silence on this crew here. And so I'm just going to float this. And if nobody responds, that's perfectly fine.
I can go first. I'll actually share two most magical experiences that have been on my recent memory. I think there's so many that I can pull from, but I'll give two. One was when I was like 18 years old. I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I came out of a large theater play at night. And when I walked outside, something just activated and made me awake, like Buddha awake. I was looking around. I could see everyone as the spirits they were, like in their body, like a couple holding hands and walking down the street, but who they really were in spirit form, and observing how, as Shakespeare says, we all play roles in this world. So, our true forms may be different than the roles we play in the physical world. And the full realization that the physical world, I'm at the bottom of everything. I could apprehend and appreciate how all of the energy from the higher planes was trickling down and materializing in the physical world. Like, it was a very stark contrast of having my higher nature aware in my physical body, of being on Earth and having that awareness and memory of, different planes of existence. And I said I'll give two, so I'll try to be real brief. The other one was one time when I was doing trading with some esoteric training, and then all of a sudden an awareness came down upon me again. And best I could describe it is kind of primordial or supernal awareness. And just this observation, like a sense of self that had no identification with me, like as my physical self, Victoria. But it's like, oh, I am here. This is this body I'm in. And it was just a very different, a very unique signature. Again, that was kind of like a primordial sense of an higher awareness that has been awakened. In Western tradition, you can consider that maybe your holy guardian angel, your higher self, and there's different degrees that you can activate, but we're in the physical world and we have all these different metaphysical mechanics to do with. But I'm very grateful that I had those experiences, and they stuck with me because it reminds me of different states of reality, different potential we have, and things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Wow. Very intriguing. Okay. Well, it's very generous of you to share that. And so would anyone else like to jump in on this one?
Sure, I'll have a go at this one. It's not the stereotypical magical, Lord of the Rings type experience, but for me, it was one of the first times I realized how magical real life could be. And this was, I was in the States. I was in, where was I? In Thousand Oaks. Just finishing like a practice there where we'd been out on this sort of old Indian ground through the night. It's kind of like a weird time with a teacher out there. And we were very much encouraged to kind of start manifesting things and using what we'd learned to try and create our reality. And at that time, I was very much into a book called by Sadhu Sundar Singh, who was a Christian mystic, and all sorts of miraculous stories about Sadhu Sundar Singh. And really, no one at that time or even now really talks about Sadhu Sundar Singh. So I was very much into him, and I was really thinking about it all the time. So I was getting all these just general coincidences in life, at Starbucks, at the coffee shop, on the way to the airport. Mm-hmm. And then as I get on the plane, this Indian lady sits next to me. And I'm like, I wonder if she knows Sadhu Sundar Singh. And then she pulls out the exact same little orange book that I've got. It's Sadhu Sundar Singh, with all her notes. And then we sort of realize, and it turns out that she's actually got a huge personal connection to him, his teachings, and also her family do as well. And that you just don't see. So that for me, it sounds, it's not like some angel came, but actually for me, it was the first time that I realized just how quickly something could manifest in real life and how magical it could be.
Wonderful. Wow. Thank you, man. That's a great story. Would anyone else like to jump in on this one?
I mean, I've written about some of my experiences. I've shared some of them online. So I've already talked about those, and I don't mind talking about those again, right? But I could give you something more recent. I was thinking, what's extraordinary for me, right? What is extraordinary? What is not normal? What is not ordinary in my magical experience now? Because it's true. Every day is a magical experience, and every day is like the most extraordinary magical experience so far, because it's all led up. It's all got its like history behind it. It's all led up to this cutting edge of where you are now. But there was, in terms of like extraordinary, in terms of like, I think this probably won't happen again. Like I probably won't see that happen again. It's like a once in a lifetime magical experience. It was something that happened a couple of years ago during the coronavirus, when one of my friends moved out of a house, and it was a house that they built. And so it had no history, no ghosts, no spirits, nothing attached, right? The whole street was actually built. And I helped them to move out. And one morning I was out walking my beautiful dog and walked past their old house, and I looked up and I saw the new owner in the house hanging up her curtains. And when I saw her, I had this thought, take a picture. Then I just thought, wait, that's creepy. Don't take a picture of someone who's just moved into their own home. And like that part of my brain instantly shut it down, right? But there was that intuition in that moment to take a picture. And then I called my friend after and said, hey, I just mentioned, I just saw your new neighbor in the house. Oh, they don't have the keys yet. There's nobody there. And so I was like, what did I see? Who did I see? Where did that come from? What was it? Quite an extraordinary experience for me, because I could rule out ghosts. That was ruled out. They built the house. There was no history. No one had died there. I knew that. It was crazy. And then I thought, all of a sudden, I took this into meditation. I had this thought, all of a sudden, they built the house. It's a hearth spirit. It's just been born. And it's like putting the curtains out for the next person. They created this hearth spirit when they built this home. And as they moved out, she moved in to prepare it for the next. And she showed herself to me. She was absolutely physical. She looked as physical as you or I. That was quite an extraordinary experience. Seeing the birth of a spirit was quite amazing.
Wow, what a stunning story. Thank you so much for sharing. Far out. I've got to say, just quickly on my own side, it's hard to keep track of them all. I put them in the diary. But the more I immerse myself in the practices, the more encouraged I am. I'll just say that, like I find that this whole process is a process of encouragement, and that, sometimes, it might be a bit of a space before you have something significant, but, I find myself not wanting to do it for the experiences, but when I do have them, my gosh, and, self-generated experiences is also part of that. And I have to say, just quickly off the bat, the depth point after doing the equilibrium exercises, that's like nothing else. And the letter D, for some reason, the letter D is just rocking my world at the moment. I needed some vitamin D. That's why I'm rocking the blue today. So that was sweet. Okay, now, so let's keep moving along. So if anyone else wants to join in, yes, no, on this one?
I'll keep it short. In terms of meaning, the first time I fully immersed into non-dual light completely, and, got to that point that you can't define positively, that was pretty mind-blowing. But a lot of people here know that I view a lot of what we do as very mechanical. You do one thing and then another thing kind of happens because that's the way reality is structured. In about 25 years ago, I was running the orbits a lot to induce Kundalini awakening along the lines of what Glenn Morris wrote about in his books. And it worked. You ran the orbits, and then all of a sudden this thing popped up my spine and blew out the top of my head. And it was just the fact that the technology worked the way technology works. You do this thing, this other thing happens. And the fact that a non-religious agnostic guy in Southern Arizona was able to pull this off, right, meant it wasn't unique to me. And that realization was like, oh, okay. Because, a lot of these spiritual works are written from the standpoint of, this, individual born under a full moon at the top of a mountain peak with the tattoo of a dove on his right ankle and, blah, blah, blah.
He's the chosen one.
Yeah, exactly. Not you, me, or anybody else. And so that was remarkable. But anyway, thanks.